So is it sake, sakai, or sake?
I've always heard it pronounced sake,
Sake.
but I think we should just ask our guest since he is the authority on it.
Oh, yeah. Our guest is a sommelier of however you say that. So we'll find out.
Welcome to If This Bar Could Talk, a podcast about bartenders and the stories they have to tell, as well as the storied history of cocktails, spirits, and bars. I'm Blair Beavers, and here's your host, Leanne Sims.
Welcome to the show, Nick Harris.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for coming. So you are the general manager of Rishi Sushi.
Yes, it's another difficult one to say.
Yeah, here in Columbus. So what is it? Is it sake, or sake?
It's sake.
Sake. Okay. So what would happen if I ordered a sake in a Japanese restaurant?
Well, sake is a type of salmon.
Okay.
Quite literally.
So it would be a smelly cocktail for
Yeah, it would be really, really interesting. I always tell people not to give me stupid ideas for cocktails because I will somehow do something with it, and you might just hate me for it. Like if I decide to go home now and come up with a salmon cocktail.
That would be pretty cool, actually.
It could be salmon colored at least.
Salmon
Could be
colored. That
salmon
would be
colored.
beautiful. So walk me through what it takes to become a sommelier of sake. And as far as we know, you're the only one in the state of Ohio. Is that correct?
It's not correct for Ohio. There's a couple others. A good friend of mine is up in Cleveland, running a really small kaiseki restaurant up there. He's also a sake sommelier. And then my sensei is actually from Cleveland. So whenever he's in Ohio, never quite sure when that is. Definitely like the authority on sake in the Western world.
So you have a sensei of sake.
Yeah. So my certification is through the Sake Education Council, whose chairperson, the president, would be John Gottner, and he is like the definite authority on sake in the Western world. If you ever pick up a sake book written in English, there's a very good chance that it was written by him or by one of his students.
Interesting. So what started you on the path of becoming a sommelier?
So kind of going back, Japanese food was always just part of growing up for me for some reason. I just kind of took an interest in it at a really young age. Started making it. Sake is a often used ingredient in Japanese cooking, so it was something that was always kind of on my radar, but it wasn't really until I started managing a bar. It wasn't even when I was bartending. When I first started at Rishi, we had a very small sake list, something like 6 sake at the time. And when I took over the management position for the bar, I kind of obviously wanted to learn a lot more about everything. So I did the normal stuff, the cocktails, liquor, wine, beer, and then got back around to the sake list. And it was just the more and more that I learned, I just had to keep going further and further. And I knew it was something that wasn't represented here in the city. So I wanted to make sure that it was.
So bartending came before the sommelier of sake.
Absolutely, yes.
Okay. So then you went to Japan, or did you to receive your certification, or how did that work?
So the next step, once I was like, oh, I need to learn more about this, I picked up John Gottner's books, and I read through all of them, learned a great deal. I probably did 6 months of self-study, working with some of my distributors, getting to try more sake, bringing them in. And then it was like, okay, I feel like I know a lot about this. I should go and make this official now. So who should I get my certification through? Because there are like 3 major ones. And the obvious choice for me, because I started with John Gottner's books, was to take his courses. And currently it is a 2-level system. I took my first level, or my certified sake professional examination, in New York. Almost over 2 years ago now. And that was held in Brooklyn Quarter, which is an industry city in Brooklyn. And it was really cool. First time getting to see a sake brewery, having it be a small craft brewery based in the U.S. Was just really awesome. So anytime John would be talking about this or that at, in a quarter, he would just be like, "Hey, Brandon, do you have that in the back?" And he would run off into the actual quarter part and, grab whatever it was, whether it was kasu or, a hydrometer to measure ABV, just bring it out and be like, "Yeah, this is the thing that I was talking about."
Very cool.
And then after that, I wanted, obviously, to finish the highest level certification. That was in Japan. We were based actually at the Sake and Sochu's advisor building in Tokyo, which was really cool to be in this. It's a pretty massive building in Tokyo that's kind of a major hub for a lot of sake and sochu breweries. And then we get to go and tour several others. And then after all of the examination and that course finished, I actually had the opportunity to go and intern at a quota in the Shimane prefecture of Japan, which was like a 2-hour flight from Tokyo. So kind of off the beaten path. Shimane is actually the second least populous prefecture in Japan. The least populous is actually right next door, which is Tottori. And yeah, I had a wonderful 3 days, at the Rihaku Brewery in Matsue. And then I came home and
And how long did the entire course take?
The first level course is a 3-day course. The higher level course was a 6-day course.
And then the internship.
And then the internship, which I did several days. And then I was there for like another week and a half afterwards.
So what is the certification process? What does it consist of? Is it like you learn how to make it and then do you then like go on to taste the different ones and identify? I guess first, if you could tell us what sake is.
Yeah. So what sake is, you'll commonly hear it described as a rice wine. I don't really like that at all. It's the same way we don't call wine a grape beer.
Oh, yeah.
It's very similar. That was a new one that I just recently heard from one of my sake friends. And I was like, I'm stealing that. So
I like that, yeah.
Jonathan, if you hear this, I definitely just stole that from you. And yeah, it has its own distinct qualities in terms of manufacturing, in terms of just the process, like the finishing processes that are all very unique to itself. So it's really its own thing. In terms of production, it's going to be a little bit more similar to the production of beer, because you're starting with something that is predominantly starch.
A grain.
A grain, yeah. You're starting with a grain. In beer making, it's whatever, barley, wheat, rye, whatever you happen to be using. In sake, it's always going to be rice. So the rice part of rice wine is correct. The wine part is not.
Okay.
I don't know how much into specifics you want me to get.
Well, so it starts with rice. So you cook the rice down to convert the starch into sugar.
No, actually. No? So one of the things that makes sake very special, kind of going back to beer making process, because I feel like that's something that a lot of people are comfortable with to some degree. one of the first things that you do in beer making is you malt it. You have to malt the grains. In sake production, the very first thing that we do with the rice is polish it. So we're taking off parts of the outside because the starch is concentrated towards the center in sake rice, in all rice really, but even more so in sake rice. So there's nothing to germinate. So we have to do that conversion from starch to sugar with something else.
Okay.
In sake making, that something else is another microorganism called kojikin. And this is a microorganism that is going to provide the enzymes to break starches into sugar, proteins into amino acids. And that's where a lot of the energy and a lot of the distinctions in sake can really come from, is the process of producing the koji. It's very specific, very a very, very detailed account of the way that each brewery, for honestly each different kind of sake they're producing, and how they manufacture their koji is going to be different.
So is this a natural occurring microorganism?
Yes, it is.
And so is it like wine where each region has like a different type of sake, or how is that?
Regionality of sake is a very complicated subject. It's honestly something that I am by no means an expert in. It is extremely different than the way that we think of wine and its idea of terroir. Sake is trying to define something to be terroir for sake is very challenging. The koji itself, it is naturally occurring. Really, no one that I know of. I'm sure there are a few crazy toji out there who are using natural kojikin in the air. There are very few of them doing that, if really any at all. It's all going to be purchased. It's just going to be what type of koji you're using. In sake production, it's pretty much always yellow koji, and even beyond that, it's a microorganism. There's a ton of different ones.
And so are the koji strains like a closely guarded secret of the different distillers, or do they call them distillers?
The brewers.
Brewers, okay.
Typically not. Like I said, they're typically just bought from a company that specializes in manufacturing and growing the microorganisms.
So they don't lend to the flavor, or?
Massively so.
Oh, okay.
But a lot of it, the specific strain isn't nearly as important as the skill of the toji and the way that they're doing the propagation and the other 1,000 steps in the process of sake making.
So they polish the grain to expose as much starch as possible, because we all know starch makes alcohol eventually.
Well, those are going to be the different grades. So when you look at a bottle of sake, it's typically going to have it will have a designation on it. So you'll see words like junmai or honjozo or ginjo or daiginjo on a bottle. And those are going to be your grades of sake, and it's all based off of that specific percentage that you're taking off. So if you look at a daiginjo sake, which is going to be our highest grade, it's surprisingly easier to talk about it from top down. What is going to be required legally in Japan is a 50% polishing rate. That means 50% of the rice is left. So the seimai buai, the polishing rate, is expressed as a percentage of rice remaining after polishing.
Okay.
So at Daiginjo, you're at 50%. You've removed half of the rice. And it is extremely important that during the polishing process that the rice does not crack, it does not break. You are literally going around the outside and removing very, very, very small portions of the rice. The byproduct of milling sake rice is rice flour.
Oh, okay.
So that's how little we're removing on each pass.
And does each brewery, do they polish their own rice or do they receive it already polished?
You can do it either way. You do not see a lot of breweries milling their own rice because the machines to do it are extraordinarily expensive. Rihaku, the brewery that I worked at, they do own their own rice milling machine. So I've had a chance to see a couple up close. Masumi also had one. They had several. Masumi is a very, very large brewery. But it's the giant, 2-3 story tall built, machines that are air driven, like flour mills.
Yeah.
But operating to not just to get flour, but to be able to maintain whole intact rice grains.
That's so interesting. So is there like a special person there at the mills just making sure that, or is it calibrated so that it polishes them perfectly every time? Or
yeah, that's one of the things that makes the machines so expensive, that they're very, very modern pieces of equipment. Looking at kind of like the history of sake, what we know as Ginjo and Daiginjo sake has really only been on the market for maybe 40 years, because that level of being able to polish off that much rice wasn't available just technologically at any commercial scale.
so the higher the grade, the better the sake, or no?
Not necessarily. It's going to be a function of your personal taste, what you think is going to be a better sake. The main thing that with a ginjo or a dai ginjo, everything's being done by hand typically, and then you're going to have less, again, typically amino acids present in the sake, because as you kind of get outside of the starch center, there's going to be more and more proteins and amino acids and also lipids, so some fats. So the sake tends to be lighter, a little bit more aromatic. That's more of a function of the yeast, but not entirely.
It's amazing.
Yeah, so you polish the grains, you introduce the microorganism
To a percentage of the to the rice, yes.
and then you add yeast after that, or
You got to develop lactic acid somehow to protect the yeast from all of the contaminants in the air. So the most modern method, again, is going to be just adding lactic acid at the beginning stage. And then you're going to add your yeast, and then you're going to let that develop for 2 weeks into a starting batch. So that's your very beginning. Is going to be 2 weeks pretty much as like a minimum to develop a really, really high count, really healthy yeast colony. And then you're going to do 3 additions over 4 days after that. And then you're going to actually do the full fermentation. So essentially the major things that makes sake production very unique, it's pretty much threefold. It's going to be that use of koji, like we've talked about. Those 3 additions are also very unique. It's called sandanji komi. And that is going to be after you have that beginning, that yeast colony. Now you're going to take that and add the koji after that. So now we have this yeast colony, and we have it protected with lactic acid somehow. The first day, you're going to add a certain amount, depending on how big the batch is, of steamed rice, koji, and water. And then the next addition, you're going to add roughly twice that amount that you added the first day. And then the same way on the third edition, you're going to add double the second edition. And this is just to really, really keep a healthy yeast colony. So you get it up to a point where, there's not really much that they can do. You dilute everything back down, you let them grow again, and then you do it again. And then you let it ferment for anywhere from like 17 to 35, 40 days, depending on what you're making.
And then they bottle it.
No. There are still several finishing steps. But the third other thing that really makes sake special in terms of its production method, we talked about koji doing the conversion from starch to sugar. Mm-hmm. And I hope that we know that yeast is what does the conversion from sugar to alcohol. Mm-hmm. If you think of beer making, you have that step of malting, creating a wort, and then that's done. That's one step. You've converted your starch into sugar.
Yeah.
And now you take that wort, and then you take it to another tank, and you ferment that. Mm-hmm. Two distinct steps, right? Mm-hmm. In sake making, that process of conversion from starch to sugar and sugar to alcohol happens simultaneously. It's called multiple parallel fermentation. So there are two fermentations happening, multiple, parallel at the same time, and they're both different forms of fermentation.
Wow.
So those are going to be pretty much the three major things that makes sake really unique in terms of its manufacturing process.
How long has sake been made?
In something that, if we went back in time to be able to recognize it, maybe getting close to 1,000 years. Something that you'd be like, oh yeah, that's
kind of still the same.
Kind of sake, like not good, but kind of sake.
And then I've had it hot and I've had it cold. Can any sake be drank hot or cold, or are there certain ones that you only do hot and certain ones that you only do cold?
I was going to say, it can be, absolutely. I mean, if you find a sake that you like warm, whatever, like go for it. But in general, and I still do this most of the time, there are very few times where I will look at a bottle of sake. The brewery, the toji, the brewmaster will tell you how to drink that sake on pretty much any bottle. It'll be like, this sake is good at these temperatures.
Like it's labeled on the bottle?
Typically, yeah.
Okay.
I'm sure there are some that are not, but most are going to, at some point, say serve chilled or great warm. I 95% of the time will default to what the brewery and the toji themselves say, because when the brewmaster sits down to make a sake, working with the president, the owners of the company, they set out to make a specific style of sake. I could get into the specifics of why some sake is good warm versus, shouldn't be warmed.
I want to know.
So in general, again, talking about like the ginjos and daiginjos of the world, anything that's going to be a lot more aromatic, or something that has a lot of really delicate flavors, all of those are pretty much caused by really, really much lighter molecules, which the boiling temperature of is going to be significantly lower, somewhere, 70, 80 degrees. You're going to start boiling off, esters and all those kinds of molecules that are going to give flavor and aroma that the brewery has worked so hard and so tediously to put into that specific sake that you don't want to boil them off.
Sure, that makes sense.
It'll lose its character. A sake in, a junmai or a honjozo, so a lower grade, isn't going to have, a ton of those really delicate or overly aromatic compounds in them. So they typically can stand up to heating better. I've definitely had daiginjos warm, like some that are absolutely great warm. I have some junmais that I would never, ever, ever, ever heat up. But in general, if I think of the sakes that I've had in my life, they typically fall somewhere in that honjozo junmai category, or below that as futsu, which is table sake, a non-premium sake.
So if you buy a bottle of sake and it says good warm, so you drink it warm, not hot, not like hot tea.
Yeah, pretty much anything over, I would say, like, what is Fahrenheit? I can't Fahrenheit.
What's the centigrade?
It would probably be around like 35 centigrade.
So that's about 85 degrees.
30. Is that?
It's close to that.
Okay.
I don't know.
40 is 98.6.
40 is 98.6.
No, 37 is 98.6. So it's got to be about 95.
Okay. So Fahrenheit, then, I would probably say not to go over like 130. I really wouldn't be going over that temperature Fahrenheit-wise. Again, if it's a futsu and you just want something really hot and it's cheap and you're not really looking to dissect the, all of the complexities of that sake, heat it up to, 150, 160, 170. I don't fucking care. Like it's gonna, as you get hotter and hotter, you're going to lose more of the character, and obviously some of the alcohol is going to boil off as well. But
nobody wants that.
If you want to grab a cheap bottle of sake and heat it up to 150 degrees just to be warm inside, go for it. The alcohol will still be there. It'll still taste like sake. It'll just be slightly less characteristic.
So does sake work well in cocktails?
It does. I've had several sake cocktails just, around the US, a few in Japan, not as many there. And it's something that's really fun for me to play with. So I am always looking to do something with sake, especially with the low ABV cocktail movement kind of really steadily increasing traction in the US. Sake is a phenomenal alternative to using some higher proof spirits.
Nice.
What is the typical ABV on sake?
Typical, you're going to see somewhere between 14 and 16. Okay. It can get up to around 21, 22%.
So similar to wine.
Similar, yeah. And you'll drink it very similar to wine. Don't think that you need to go out and get a specific sake set. You can use your wine glasses at home. If you want to drink hot sake, it's actually a little bit better to use a mug to heat up the sake. If you want to do it in the microwave, just slightly, a little bit at a time. Don't go too fast. Don't go too hot.
Gotcha. So sake, a good low proof alternative for the lower ABV cocktail movement. That's good to know. And I think it's a huge treat for our guests to have sake cocktails when they do the Uptown Cocktail Tour, because it's so unique and different. And I think this will be a great time for you to make us a cocktail. What are you going to make for us tonight?
Yeah, I'm happy to do that. So the cocktail I'll be making today is called Kano Have This Dance. this was definitely like an inside joke, mostly for me, but I still love the name. So the sake that I will be using today is from Rihaku. It is the Dance of Discovery, is the English name for it. It's made with a rice called kanomai, and kanomai is only used at the moment in the Shimane Prefecture. So there are about a dozen breweries in the Shimane Prefecture, and they're the only ones who have access to this rice. So essentially, the name kanomai translates roughly to like God's dancing.
Okay.
So that's where the name Dance of Discovery came from. And I just like the pun of kan spelled with a K. So Kano, have this dance,
I like
instead of it being kanomai.
Nice. Awesome.
So,
Sounds wonderful. So we're going to take a break and you're going to make us a cocktail.
sounds good.
All right. And we are back with the Kono Have This Dance. Cheers, everyone.
Cheers.
Cheers.
That's tasty.
Oh, that is good.
So tell us how you made this, Nick.
Yeah, so the Kano of the Dance, like I said, uses the Dance of Discovery from Rihaku. It's definitely the main ingredient here. It's actually a whopping 3 ounces of the sake. And then we use Soho's lychee liqueur today. I normally use Jafard, but Soho's is also pretty good. Used 3/4 of an ounce of that. And then it is a 1/4 ounce each of lemon juice, fresh squeezed lemon juice, and a special ingredient called kabosu no himitsu. It's another Japanese ingredient. Kabosu is a type of citrus fruit native to like the more southern portions of Japan. I believe this is coming from Oita, is where this kabosu is coming from. And then the no himitsu essentially is that it is blended with also the essential oil and some local honey as well. So it's definitely like a citrus honey syrup that is used in this cocktail, and an egg white. So with that, I have to dry shake it first and then shake with ice, of course, strained, and then we have it topped with some beautiful hibiscus dust and a couple dashes of ango.
That's really good.
It's really good.
So is the hibiscus just for aesthetics, or does it does it do something for the cocktail as far as flavor?
Yeah, so the hibiscus here is definitely, being a flower, is very much playing to the very floral component that lychee just is. Lychee to me is an extremely floral, surprisingly fruit, not being a flower, but it has a very floral taste, and the hibiscus really helps mesh with that. And hibiscus also has a really nice, almost earthiness to it, and that kind of astringency that actually pairs really well with the sake. Being a junmai sake is going to have a little bit more of those heavier notes to it than something you would find in a higher grade. So between the earthiness and the florality, it really helps to tie together both the lychee and the sake together a little bit better.
It's really delicious. What do you think, Blair?
I like it. It's
good.
like you said, very floral. But I like that. I like that it's not sweet and floral.
Yeah, see, I don't.
It's
I
just
don't,
floral.
Yeah, that's it. So
Like this.
when you say floral, I think of what's that elderflower
Yeah.
stuff that I hate.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's
Bartender's
not like
ketchup.
that.
Saint Germain.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Saint Germain. It's not that at all. 'Cause I
No,
can't stand that
no.
stuff.
That's just sweetness that happens to be floral.
Well, I say I can't stand it, but I do like it in small quantities in a cocktail. But when you get too heavy-handed with it, it's just gross.
Right.
This is really good.
Balance is the name of the game always.
Yeah, so true. And can, if our listeners go to Rishi, is this on your menu? Can they?
It definitely is.
Okay, awesome. So tell me about Rishi. Is it owned by a single person, or who owns Rishi?
Yeah, so it's locally owned.
Okay.
They're actually two doctors.
Okay.
And this is the restaurant, and that's actually where the name Rishi comes from. Is one of the owners was one of the original owners when they opened it, and that's actually named after his son. So
Amazing food.
yes,
Sushi, of course. Some great ramen.
There's a lot of Korean influence, it seems, in the menu.
I was gonna say the hot kitchen is definitely that Pan-Asian, but with a definite focus on Japanese, Korean, and Indonesian.
Okay. And then you guys have a happy hour?
We do Monday to Thursday, 5 to 7.
Okay. What kind of deals do you give for your happy hour?
Well, first thing is $1 off glasses of sake.
Oh, nice.
We also have a really large selection of Japanese beers, of which I offer $2 off for happy hour,
Okay.
and $1 off cocktails such as the one we're having right now.
Sounds like a great deal. What about food?
Food wise, our sushi rolls are buy any two, get your third for free. We have our sushi panini, which is kind of one of our signature dishes, on for $9 instead of $13. And then for the hot kitchen side, if you bring a friend and you both get a hot entree, you guys can get an appetizer for free. Or if you want to for yourself, I'm not going to judge.
Nice. That's awesome. So tell me about, does sake have specific glassware? Like, we like to use the Glencairns to taste whiskey. Is there a specific vessel?
There are many a vessel. Unlike different regions of Europe, Japan as a whole never really came together at any point in history and was like, this is the sake glass. And I'm not upset by that by any means. For anybody, curious to try sake, I mean, hell, even at Rishi, I serve sake out of what are ostensibly wine glasses, especially for the chilled. I use little tasting wine glasses, stemless. Stemware's never really caught on in Japan for sake, but using stemless wine glasses, or just use a wine glass when you're drinking it at home.
I've had sake out of a box.
Yeah, the masu.
And little ceramic glasses.
Yeah, so you'll definitely see all kinds of different ceramics. Japan has a really rich tradition of ceramics in general. So you'll see the ceramic carafes are really common. Those are called tokuri. It actually comes from the sound of pouring out from the tokuri. It makes that tok 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 sound. So it's tokuri for the name of that vessel. And then the little tiny glasses, the ceramic glasses that they give you, they are not shot glasses. The ones that you typically see are called ochoko, and they're just very small glasses, and they're meant to be small and still to be sipped. But what it's for is so that you're constantly refilling each other's glasses. Drinking sake in general is a very social thing.
Okay.
So pouring for each other is a must do for one, especially when you're out with anybody.
Well, that's good to know.
Yeah.
Kind of like how they have tea ceremonies and stuff too, right?
Yes, for sure. You never want to, if you're with a group of friends, unless you are the bestest of best friends, you're not really supposed to be pouring for yourself unless you're, like I said, in this really casual setting. But if we were all four of us sitting here, we're drinking sake, we would always want to be pouring for each other when our glasses were empty.
It's good to know. It's good etiquette.
It's about the only all but universal etiquette around sake drinking. Same way Japan never really sat down and came up with the rules of this is how it's supposed to be, like the French court of sommeliers did in terms of drinking French wine, and then later on wine as a whole. We don't really have that.
So if someone is new to sake and they want to try to, where should one start?
Where should one start in sake?
What would you purchase first? Or what is your favorite sake?
Definitely my favorite is not going to be everyone's favorite, especially for a first time. I like older style sake, so much bigger. I like junmais. I like tokubetsus. Those are really in my wheelhouse. I drink a decent bit of ginjo and daiginjo because that's partly my job and partly because I do love it. But typically when I have a bottle at home, it's of a junmai or a honjozo.
And do you serve flights at Rishi where they could go and explore?
I do, yeah. It's my sake sommelier selection, and it's constantly different. I always, a lot of times it's going to be sake either completely off the menu, or I got bored and wanted to try one of my sake that I typically only have bottle only. So now I have an open bottle, and now you guys get to try it.
I'm doing that.
Yeah.
So
I would love to.
That's a great idea. That would be a great way to learn.
Yeah.
And just be at the bar with you and kind of talk through what you're tasting.
Yeah, because I don't know anything about it. I like all alcohol though, so
Yeah.
I'm always interested
Willing
in
to try it.
exploring.
yeah, I'm always happy to sit down and talk sake. It's definitely my favorite thing to get to do at work. So please,
So fun.
if you're interested, let's sit down and chat.
I would love that. So how did you? Are you from Columbus or?
I'm not from Columbus. No, I'm from Eastern Ohio.
Okay. How long have you been here?
Almost 7 years now.
Okay. All right. And when can our guests visit you at Rishi? When are you there?
You can find me at Rishi pretty much every dinner. Typically, I'm not there Sunday.
Okay. Do you have any fun, interesting stories to share from your days studying to be a sommelier, or any
Travel
bartending?
or bartending?
Anything you'd like to share?
Ooh, some interesting stories. Ooh.
It can go any direction.
Okay, I'm like, how salacious should I get here?
Oh, please.
Yeah, we are always
Lay it on us.
explicit rating. Drop the F-bomb if you feel like it.
Okay.
Not a problem here.
I definitely had some really fun nights. It's coming up on almost a year since I was in Japan, so I've really been it's been on my mind more and more because it's coming up to oh wait, I haven't been there a year now. So kind of getting to reminisce about that's been nice. I definitely remember one night there was a group of, I believe it ended up being 6 or 7 of us met up at a bar in Tokyo after class one day. I think it was the night before, it was the night after our examination. So after our full day of examination, we went out to this bar, and like I said, there were 7 of us. In Japan, and you'll see them occasionally in the US, a type of sake size or bottle is called a 1 cup. It's a little one serving. It's 180 milliliters is the serving size for a 1 cup.
Okay.
The 7 or 8 of us, I think we polished off 60 1 cups between us.
How many of you were there?
7 or 8, somewhere in that ballpark. Obviously, after having an Isho bin, 1.8 liters of sake, some of that night is gone from my memory for sure. But the bar that we went to had this really, really fun, it's a gimmick, but the thing that they did is they had a special freezer, and you'll see this occasionally in Japan, where they super critically like chilled all of their one cups. And this place had like probably 60 or 70 different kinds of one cup sake. But they stored them at supercritical temperatures. So like the thing is, when you get your sake, you shake it or you hit it or something, and then it freezes into a slushy. And it was just so much fun. The first time, like, because I got there a little bit late, I saw someone like get their one cup and then shake it. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, why are you shaking your sake? Like, this makes no sense to me. And then I look back like at their thing, and it's now like opaque. I'm like, what the hell did you just do to that sake? And then they handed it to me to try, and they're like, oh yeah, it's a slushy now. I'm like, what do you mean? Like, I'm like, oh, it's super critical, like chilled. So that was
interesting.
It was really, really cool. I unfortunately do not have one of those fancy super critical freezers like they did. I would like to get one. I've seen them around, but
that'd be cool.
So is that kind of like the Japanese version of Jello shots or something?
I guess. Probably. It was a good time for sure.
That's
Wow.
That's pretty cool. So you said you have seen them in the States?
I've seen one cups in the States, and I've looked up online just out of curiosity to see how much one of those freezers would be. And I'm not going to be getting one anytime soon, unless I have a massive spike in demand for them.
Well, I mean,
I want to try one now.
Like
all of our listeners,
I
want
want some
try
more.
it now.
Yeah, I want some too.
That sounds like
that
fun.
could be your summer thing.
Yeah.
That would be awesome.
That is a good idea. Well, we can write a letter to the owners if you like.
Go for it.
Yeah,
Mission critical. Just he needs this.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if it
needs
doesn't
this.
come from me, it might have a little more impact.
It's authentic Japanese.
I'm all the time like, hey, I want you to buy this. I want you to buy this. So it'd be nice if somebody else did it for once.
All right. Any other stories you want to share?
Not this time.
All right.
All right. Well, we'll have you back again so you can tell us more stories. And this is a really wonderful cocktail. And so I hope our
Really
listeners can
delicious.
get to Rishi and taste some of your fabulous sake cocktails. And it's sake.
Sake.
Learn
Yes.
something important tonight. All right. Nick Harris, thank you so much for being with us. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me, guys.
Thanks.
Cheers.
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 Listeners, please rate, review, and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Check us out on Facebook and Instagram at Seabus Craft Cocktail Tour. Visit our website at columbuscraftcocktailtour.com for cocktail tour dates, women and whiskey tastings, special events, merchandise, and if you're looking for a gift for that special person in your life, get them a gift card to our cocktail tour. Thank you to our producer, Greg Hansberry, and to the biographer for our original music. And please remember to drink responsibly and be cocktail curious. Cheers.